Hey everybody, this is Jen. Welcome to the homestead and welcome to my journey. So today is in the first week of September and I wanted to show you guys around a little bit on what's been going on in the garden since I've been dealing with a lot of stuff where I couldn't get out to the garden. So let's go for a walk right here on Garden Jen's Journey. My name is Jen. In 2016, we moved to a small rental property in central Michigan. Here, I started my journey of organic gardening, making natural remedies, cooking from scratch, and so much more. Welcome to my homestead, and welcome to my journey. Welcome to the jungle. It is a jungle indeed. We've got lots of weeds and grass and just everything taken over because I haven't been able to come out here and maintain the garden. But let's see what's tucked in all this mess. Well, we have a Flashy girl. She likes to hide among this mess, don't you, Flash? Yes, exactly. So this huge pot here of shrubbery is actually French tarragon. It's a huge pot. It's a perennial. It comes back every year, and every year it gets bigger. It looks like it's out of control, but actually it's where I need it to be because we're actually going to be collecting some seeds from these just so I can give them away to those who don't have French tarragon. We have some birds that like to sit amongst the raspberry bushes over here. So one of the reasons I don't mind my garden being so overgrown, there's some more that's coming in on the walnuts, is because we're creating an ecosystem here, not just a garden, but we're creating an ecosystem that birds can come in, other wildlife can come in, and help maintain the garden, so to speak. They come in, if they're not pollinators, they're beneficial by eating bugs and grubs and snakes that don't belong here. But yes, this mess is actually more of an ecosystem, which is why I don't mind it so much. This is my medicinal herb bed here that I first started. It'll be 9 years ago in the fall. And it might look overgrown, and there is some truth to that, but actually a lot of this is okay. We have our wild plants like our goldenrod here, which I actually do use for medicinal purposes, and it's great for your bees and other things that need this pollen to survive in the autumn. Tucked in here we have my lemon balm, and back there is bee balm, but you can't see it because obviously the grass. And the yarrow is really starting to take over and make a wonderful ground cover here, which is what I want. So I'll keep pulling out the grass and let the yarrow keep creeping, and it'll be a beautiful bed with lots of yarrow in it. But like I said, the goldenrod and stuff I'm fine with because I actually use it, and I know the wildlife uses it as well. One of the things that didn't do so well this year, and it's just because of the year, it was my coneflower. Usually it's massive, like it takes up this whole area right here, but it's kind of small this year, and it's not because of the grass and stuff, because when it was first coming up I was able to maintain this. It's just this year wasn't exactly the best year for it. These are my whirligig zinnias. You can see what they look like in their prime. But I'm letting these look a little rough because I'm going to be collecting these seeds because I want to definitely grow more of those next year. So these are looking rough on purpose. I didn't deadhead them because I want these seeds. So my bird friends were so nice and brought in more yellow plants. These, of course, are black-eyed Susans. And like somebody told me, once they get established, they go everywhere. And it is true. It is true. I mean, I have these in a lot of spots. But most of the time where they are, I am fine with. So, you know, I'm all about helping our pollinator friends and things like that. So these beautiful flowers are perfectly fine. If they're in a spot I don't like them, I just move them. You know, it's not a big deal. So this is my bramble patch. I have blackberries up front. I have the fall gold raspberries back there. And then in the back I have regular raspberries. And then up front here, which you can't see because I have to move them. I have blueberries here. But again, I'll have to move them eventually. But all in all, even with all this overgrowth, they've done pretty good for their second year. These guys are only 2 years old. And so they're still kind of getting established here. I did get some blackberries off these guys before the birds did. And they were delicious. You can see I do have a couple of the fall gold raspberries there. And they're okay. I was surprised. They're pretty good. But more so, and these are kind of wild brambles here, which is why they're like growing everywhere. These are more of the wild variety. I did get some raspberries off these, but most of them have gone to the birds, and it's fine. Birds need to eat too. But yeah, all in all, these guys are doing okay. I obviously have them creeping out where I don't want them, because that's what these guys do. These guys can be invasive. And so what do? Well, because I'm letting this go as grass and stuff, very simple. We just keep mowing them down. So that's how we deal with that. Tucked away back here, I have my cayenne peppers and then my white snapdragon. I did have beans here. They didn't do so well. They actually did put out some pods, so I can try again next year. I'm just letting them dry on the vine. These are Chinese noodle beans. Say hello to hops. This is my hops vine, or vine with a B is what they're actually called. And you can see it's massive. I am not harvesting it this year. I just don't have the time, the energy, and I already have 2 gallons of it in my pantry, so we're just letting it be. This is the raised bed that my husband put in for me. We're dealing with a lot of slug issues and stuff, and you can see that I have a lot of grass. There's a tree that's actually a mountain ash in there. I do have some raspberries growing in there, but also tucked in here is some red onions. And so eventually, maybe tomorrow, depends on my energy, I'm going to be ripping all this out and harvesting those onions because they should be good to go. So this is my sad shape of grapevine. If you remember me talking about how I had disease in my vines and my elderberry bushes, which are over there, I had to prune them, cut them back, and so I cut them, but I couldn't yank them off without disturbing the good ones, so they just kind of got left here. But you can see my grapes are not exactly the best, but it is what it is. And then my elderberry patch. And then over here, if you watch that crack there, it's very, very busy. There is a honeybee hive tucked in that crack and then in the cinder blocks. I mean, I don't think you can hear it even if I shut up. But the humming is very, very loud. So upon closer inspection, as I'm watching what lands in and out of here, unfortunately it is not honeybees. These are yellow jackets, which, as many people know, are not very nice. But at the same time, I want to also give some public announcements. I'm standing within about 3 feet of this hive. And you can see the activity going in and out, in and out. But they're not bothering me because they don't perceive me as a threat. Yellow jackets, even though they're not very nice, they're also beneficial pollinators. So if you have a hive like this that's in a spot that isn't going to be bothered, leave them alone. Let them do their job of pollinating your plants because they're important. But also, if they're in a spot that's not safe, or if you're allergic to bees, then you're definitely going to want to take care of them. There's plenty of bee removal people out there, because from the sound of this hive and from the activity, this is massive. Probably a lot bigger than any simple wasp spray will take care of. Okay, so this is my orchard area. For those of you guys who are new, this area that I'm standing in was the old chicken run. We had chickens for quite a few years, and then we decided to rehome them. So I have 2 peach trees right here. The one behind is about 3 years old. I planted it last year, but it was already 2 years old. So it's 3 years old now. It's beautiful. It actually had blossoms on it this spring. No fruit though, which it's fine. It's still too young really to have fruit on it, but it still was pretty in the spring. And then we have this one here. It's looking really nice. Look at the color that it's starting to change too. It's always been a little different of a color, not as green, but in the fall, look at that beautiful color. And back here, tucked in nicely with the goldenrod, that is another peach tree. And these two, this one and this one here, I'm going to have to prune in the winter when they go dormant, because they are not of the right shape. And so you want to start pruning them when they're young, so they spend more of their energy growing correctly instead of growing incorrectly. This is a wild apple that we transplanted. It's doing pretty good right here. Probably next year we'll see how it does. I'm going to start grafting some domesticated apple stock onto this because it's a hardy rootstock. But we have specific apples that we want to grow. So probably next year we're going to start grafting onto this bad boy. So this is one of the elderberry plants that was planted by our bird friends a couple years ago. And this is where I've gotten a lot of elderberries after I had to cut my other patch off. And you can see it's still loaded. This is easily a 9 to 10 foot tall plant. And so obviously I can't reach those up there. But that's fine. The birds have plenty to eat. And again, we're creating an ecosystem here. Not just a simple garden that, you know, I get all the goodies. But I want to give back to nature. And so by letting the birds have stuff like elderberries, sunflower seeds, you know, the raspberries, things like that, it's kind of my simple way of giving back and thanking them for their help in my garden. So this is what I've gotten so far today out in the garden. I've gotten more cayenne peppers from those pitiful bushes. They're doing pretty good, so I'm very thankful. And then this is all the elderberries that I harvested today. Again, I've left quite a bit for the birds because I already actually have quite a few elderberries. I'm just basically restocking my dried pantry because I am running low a bit on the dried, which I use to make elderberry syrup in the winter. These are my Japanese beetle traps. And I think this is the end of the season because I have not seen any new activity. So I've left these guys up just in case there's still more around, but I believe it is the end of their season. To give you a rough idea, we live in about 2 acres of land, and then of course all the pasture land around. And I've gone through approximately 8 bags, because I change out the bags when they get full. Overall, I'm very pleased with this product. And it will be in my Amazon store, which the link is in the description box below. So this is my wonderful potato patch. You can see how overgrown it is. But most of this growth, because of the way I planted it, is actually the kind I wanted here. We have lots of elephant dill, which is starting to get blown over by the wind. We've got some flowers. I have bee balm up here up front. It didn't grow as tall this year because things got a little stunted with the wacky weather, but it still grew. We got cosmos. This is the red cosmos. We have lots of borage, which the bees are still utilizing. So excited with that. Alright, so this is my sweet potatoes that I've been growing all summer. And the vines are showing a very, very healthy plant. And they've kind of been like ground cover, which is kind of what I wanted here. Because you can see how easy. This is ragweed. Lots of ragweed. But you can see how easy that even with mulch and black fabric and everything, you still get stuff like ragweed and grass and sow thistle growing out everywhere. But overall, we still have an abundance. This is my chamomile patch here. And I was going to harvest some today, but there's really not a lot to harvest without taking away from our pollinator friends. So I'm just going to let this be. Here's a closer look at the Zakitas zinnias. Look at the texture on them. It's what I really like is the texture. And again, we're letting them have seed heads. There's one down there that's ready to harvest. So I can grow more of these next year. These are my blue daisies. And I used to have a hard time getting these to grow. But this year, because I grew them inside to start seedlings inside, they've done very well. So I have a nice patch of them, which means I'll be able to get quite a few seeds. And then I have this one straw flower here. I think it's just one plant. I only had a few seeds of this, but I want to make sure that I got some more. So we grew that one. So that one's the purple one. And then we have this one here. Must have gotten put in the same bag because they are very tiny seeds. This one's a copper one. This is one of the apricot trees that we have. This is the other apricot tree we have. And then of course we have our other trees that we're growing to make a windbreak, so to speak. Because the winds get really rough here. And so we're trying to make a windbreak. So it's taken a couple years for these to get established where we can actually mow around them, because you can see where they are. We have tucked in here, these are northern spruce saplings. And when we got them, they're very tiny. Like, I think they're considered like 1 year. And we got them from the Arbor Day Foundation. So if any of you guys plant saplings from the Arbor Day Foundation, you know that it can be like a 50-50 chance that they're going to survive because they're so young. So we got 10 plants, and I think we only have 4 that made it. We got that one, and that one, and we got this one here, and this one here. So yeah, we have 4 of those. And we have a mountain ash. And over here, which came back after I mowed over it last year, oops, we have our maple tree. This is my tomato patch. You guys have seen it before if you've been following me. If not following me, go ahead and click the subscribe button so you can stay up with my gardening videos and you don't get left behind. Anyways, I have my marigolds here. I had peppers, mini peppers, You can see one right there, but they're not doing too well. I'm probably going to start growing all my peppers in pots because they do better in pots than in our soil. My Kellogg's breakfast tomatoes, these guys took a while to get off the ground. They were not doing well at all. You can see something's been eating that one, which again is fine. I'm not going to throw a hissy fit because something is eating my produce in my garden. You know, I haven't been able to get out here and harvest it, so I'd rather that wildlife eat it than it go to waste. And look at these marigolds. Aren't they beautiful? These are considered mammoth marigolds. So I grow these kind every year because they are mammoth. They get into a bushy type shape, and it just really fills out the landscape. It really looks nice. So these are the yellow pear tomatoes. I grow them because sometimes I can't deal with the acidity in tomatoes, but I love cherry tomatoes. So I grew these this year for myself. I'm generally the only one who eats tomatoes off the vine. My son absolutely hates tomatoes, but he'll eat ketchup or you know, something like that, processed tomatoes as it were. And my husband hates tomatoes too, unless they're in chili or something like that where they're cooked. So I grew these mostly for myself, and they're okay. You know, they're definitely got a bit of a different taste than a regular tomato because they are so mild. But I grew something else this year to kind of compare. I've heard so much about it. These are sun gold tomatoes. So you can see that they're a little bit orange, and some of them turn a little bit darker, almost like a red, but they are sun golds. And these are a perfect blend between bland yellow pears and the red tomatoes that have a lot of acidity. These have the perfect flavor for me. For me, these guys are #1 in my cherry tomato book. Speaking of cherries, these are cherry snapdragons. Aren't they gorgeous? So these are all my Roma tomatoes. You can see I have quite a few, even though these guys really struggled with disease and the weather being too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry. It was very hard on these guys, but there's still quite a few here. I haven't been able to get out here and get them harvested to make anything with them. My hope is I can do that tomorrow. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the walk, the journey through my jungle. But you can see that even with stuff so out of control, God is ultimately in control. And He has provided a wonderful abundance in flowers, in produce, and just beauty, even though it's quite overgrown out here. So if you like this video and it gave you an inspiration to enjoy things even when it looks kind of rough, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Love to have you along on the journey. It's definitely nowhere near the end. We have a lot more in store. So please follow me along. Until next time, I hope wherever you are wonderfully blessed. Bye-bye.